All right. Hello, class. AP seminar. Okay, let's discuss a few general ideas, concepts, and things to know that we have discussed so far about this course. Um, let's start with the basics. How would you explain what AP seminar is about to someone interested in taking this course? Alderson?
Have to use your research skills to create different papers and presentations about the stuff you learn online. And you will learn skills such as finding credible sources, making strong arguments, and having the ability to cite sources correctly.
Those are all very important components of this course. Great. Could you guys add anything to it? What is the content of this course? Joyce, what is this course interested in? What is the content? We don't have a textbook, so what kind of things do we look at?
Skills of research.
Okay, and what do we research? What kind of...
Word issues.
All right, yes. So basically, looking at real-world issues, what's happening, and making informed arguments, not simply opinions. Okay. Having mentioned real-world issues, what are some significant issues debated in our time? Rosalind, can you think of some such issue?
AI. How AI affects our life and how it change the economics.
Okay, artificial intelligence and its impact on the economy is definitely a hotly debated issue. Gino, could you think of?
Climate change influencing the environment, so the temperature is up, is sometimes very hot, but however sometimes very cool.
Yes, climate change is definitely another one of those issues. Alderson, could you think of another one?
The population that's overgrowing and problems it would cause, such as lack of resource for everyone.
Yes. Population growth, overpopulation, or conversely, population collapse. And Joyce, could you maybe think of another?
Gaps between people. Like
Okay.
wealthy.
Inequalities?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. Economically or in any other way. Great. We mentioned making arguments, which is one of the skills we are supposed to learn about here. And that is very different from simply stating an opinion. So how would you explain the difference between an opinion and an argument?
An opinion is heavily biased, but an argument has different points that you can find credible sources about it and argue about it.
Okay, that's a good point. What is an argument made of, so to say? First of all, we need claims, yes? But claims are supported by what? What's the word?
Issues.
Well, we need evidence, right?
Yeah.
Evidence. So, claims supported by evidence, strung together, make up an argument. Opinions do not need to be supported by evidence. Very often, opinions cannot be supported by any evidence because they are simply a matter of personal preference, and as such, they are very, very subjective. Okay. In AP Seminar, as you guys mentioned, we're learning about real-world issues, we look at different perspectives, and we try to make arguments about them. Why is it important to be able to articulate a position on a certain issue? What would you say about that? Is it important at all?
Can you say the question again?
Okay, so is it important to be able to articulate a position on an issue? And if it is important, why is it important?
It's important because if you want an argument or a research paper, you have to pick a side and find evidence supporting your side on whether or not your ideas are right.
Okay, that's a good point. In what spheres of everyday life do you think people are faced with such questions? Taking positions and supporting them with evidence. How can it be, if in any way, relevant to real life?
For students, it's mostly about schoolwork. For adults, it could be about when you go to work, you have to present something to your boss. You have to use that kind of skill set to convince your boss about something.
Yes, that's a very good point. Being persuasive is a very good skill in most jobs. Can you think of another area of life? You very often hear about this on the news, for example, where people have different positions and they try to argue for them, and they try to perhaps persuade others about their own position. Well, what is it that's most discussed in the news?
Immigration.
Okay, yes. And, okay, let's take this topic, immigration. Obviously, there are different positions, and these positions are usually held by different groups, political groups, right? So in politics, which affects our everyday life, argumentation, persuasion, and being able to articulate a position very clearly and persuasively might come in very handy. Okay. All right. Let's talk about research and argumentation. How do you decide, how do you determine whether a source is credible or not? Rosalind, what do you say to that? How do we know if a source we're looking at is credible?
There might be data and some experiments to get the solutions.
Okay, okay. Sunny, what would you say about that?
Joyce.
Sorry, Joyce.
The website, the name of the website.
Okay. Tell us more.
.org.
Okay, that's a good example. Yeah, so large organizations that are generally accepted as credible sources of information. Gino, could you give us an example of an organization that is globally accepted as a good source of information? Some great, globally well-known and respected organization. Can anyone think of one?
WHO.
Okay, yes, the WHO, World Health Organization, right? During COVID, it was this organization that made large announcements declaring whether there's an epidemic or how the status of that epidemic is going. Okay, so Joyce mentioned this one type of website, a .org. What would be Can you think of another type of website that is safe to use?
Governmental website.
Yes, governmental websites that usually end, if you look at the URL, it would be a .gov website, right? So again, theoretically, we should be able to trust what the government says. And then, of course, there are large educational institutions such as universities. Yeah, their websites should also be safe to use. Okay. What is a key word here when we discuss credibility and reliability? Bias. Gino, does this word ring any bells? What do we mean by bias, and how does that hurt a source's credibility?
So, a bias is not looking at an issue with an objective perspective. So, it's involved with your opinion and anything you prefer. So, it's not reduce its credit since you're not anyone, you're just a small part in the world and very tiny, and that couldn't represent anything that you gave is correct or not.
Okay, so being uninformed, yeah, I guess it could lead to bias, or simply having an interest in an issue. It takes away a source's objectivity, right? If someone can benefit from either one position or another, that could naturally make them biased and less objective. Okay. So here in AP Seminar, we are going to produce academic papers. Alderson, how would you describe the difference between academic writing and casual writing?
With academic writing, you have a lot of sources to prove your point, and the form of the writing is it's very formal. With casual writing, it's just you can write whatever you want without any sources.
Okay, these are good points. It's important what Alderson mentioned, a formal style, right? So Joyce, how can we avoid falling into the error of making the tone of our writing informal? What are some phrases that we should avoid in academic writing?
In my opinion.
Yes. So first of all, yeah, as we said, we're not dealing with opinions but facts supported by evidence. So it's better to stay away from personal pronouns or phrases such as the one you mentioned. Okay. Okay. To wrap this up, maybe one more question. Do you think, based on what you know so far, do you think that some or any of the skills that you learn in AP Seminar could apply to other courses or real-world projects? In other words, is there anything practical or useful, do you think, that AP Seminar can offer? Rosalind?
The writing skills we learn in the seminar can use in many subjects, like also IELTS test. We do a lot of research and we expand our knowledge to write more information about IELTS writing.
Okay. Yes, that's absolutely true. Writing skills. Gino, can you think of anything else?
So the researching skills, since we're using ChatGPT always, we can distinguish how either it's an accurate and supportive evidence or source, or it's an random, non-useful source to apply into our citations.
Okay, that's a good point. Yes. One should always do a little follow-up research to make sure that a source provided by an AI is real. First of all, does it even exist, or is it simply a hallucination by AI? All right, thank you guys for your thoughts. See you next time.